Okay, so does anybody know what? So chapter 1 is all about ratios and rates. Does anybody know what rate means? Beta?
How good or bad something
Okay, that's rating something outside of math. Like you're actually rating something. I'm talking about a rate that deals with, we're talking about like speed or money. Talking about rate.
is. What's the value of something?
You're close. Close. So if like you go buy something at the grocery store, okay? And when you're at the grocery store, you wanted to buy some oranges, but it's so much per pound. That's a rate. Okay? A rate is like miles per hour when you're driving. You drive so many miles every hour. That is a rate. So we're going to be talking about those. They put like a picture of the cheetah there because they're talking about how fast the cheetah goes. That is a rate. So they said he was running 60 miles per hour. All right? That's the rate. So on to the next page. So on the next page, okay, it shows you all of the vocab terms for this chapter alone. Okay, if you look back on the word wall, we have 5 new words up there. Multiple, least common multiple, factor, common factor, and greatest common factor. We're going to mainly talk about the factors today. We'll come back and talk about the multiples tomorrow probably. So, if you ever need to look for vocab, it's on page 4. Now let's jump to page 7. Page 7. Basically, yes. Okay, so page 7, this shows us lesson 1. This is the first page. This is how all the first pages look of the lessons. So you get over here, you have your vocab that's going to be in the lesson. So that's the highlighted words. Those are the vocab terms. Okay, they're both up on the wall for a reason. So, like I said, we're just going to stick with factors today. We're just going to start there. We'll talk about the multiples tomorrow. So, a common factor is a number that is a factor of 2 or more numbers. So basically what that means is that a factor of 2 numbers, they share that in common. They have the same numbers. That's what it means to have a common factor. Okay, the greatest common factor, or the greatest of the common factors of 2 or more numbers, is called the GCF, greatest common factor. So down here, right here, where it says GCF, what does GCF stand for? Greatest common factor. It's a good thing about these books. You can write right into them. They're a workbook for a reason. Write into them. Take your notes. Okay, what does greatest mean? They want us to define the next few words. What's greatest mean, Dakota?
Biggest.
The biggest. That'll work. Talking about the biggest number. The highest value. You can put that too if you want. Okay, what does common mean?
It means it happens a lot.
Okay, it happens often. We can put that. Happens often. What else can we put? What else can we put about common? Elizabeth?
It's like a normal thing.
Like the norm. Put the norm. It's normal. You see it a lot. Okay, it keeps reoccurring. All right, now factor. What does factor mean? So for math, we're talking about the factor in math. What does it mean to factor?
2 numbers.
We're talking about numbers. Okay, we're talking about, if you're talking about factors, what is a factor?
It's like the numbers have to go up to it, like if it was like 5.
So 2 or more numbers that multiply together. Basically, when you're looking at factors of a number, like let's say we had 8. Actually, let's go 18. Okay, say we had 18 as a factor here, or as our number. Okay, factors are the numbers that go into 18. So I always start with 1 and 18, because what's 1 times 18? 18. Now the next numbers you look at are just numbers that, what can you multiply to get to 18? Does 2 go into 18?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 times what?
9.
9. Okay, so those factors. What about 3? Does 3 go into 18?
Yes.
Yes. 3 times what?
6.
6. Does 4?
Yes.
4 times what gets you to 18?
No.
No. 5?
No.
Nope. And we're back at 6. So those are the factors right there. So the factors are just the numbers that multiply together that equal one number. That's what you're looking for. So the factors of 18, that's how you would say this. 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 18. Those are all the factors. All right. Define common factors is when you got to have, like, say we had 27. So we do 1 and 27 again. Does 2 go into 27? 3? 3 times what? 9. Does 4 go into 27? 5. 6. 7. 8. No. None of those. So these are the factors. So your common factors are the ones they have in common. So 1, they share. So what would be the greatest common factor of these two numbers? 9. Okay, so that's how this works. You're just looking for factors for right now. Okay, so let's go on to page 8. Go to page 8. When you're trying to find the greatest common factor of numbers, okay, there's multiple ways of doing it. Okay, one way, the way I normally do it, is always just write out a list of them, like what we just did on the last page, right there. I listed those out. Okay, so like number 1 here, it says there are 1 slice servings of 3 types of cake on a table. Each row has an equal number of servings and only 1 type of cake. What is the greatest number of servings in each row? So basically for this, they're asking you to find the greatest common factor for 3 numbers. So they have 10, they have 15, they have 20. We have to find the greatest common factor between those 3 numbers. So the method number 1 here to do this, okay, so always start, it doesn't matter what number you start with, either the 10, 15, or 20. I'm going to start with 10. Okay, I always start my bookends, as I call it. It's like writing out a list. 1, 10. You always start with the number 1 and the number itself, because 1 times that number is that number. Okay, now we go to the next one. Does 2 go into 10? Yes, 2 times what? 5. If you look, if you have your multiplication chart, this will help you a lot. This will save a lot of time. Okay, does 3 go into 10? 4. And we're back at 5. So those are it. Those are the factors of 10. We're done with 10. Now we have to do 15. 1, 15. Because you always start with those 2. Now you just go down the list. Does 2 go into 15? No. What about 3? 3 times what? 5. Does 6 or 4, I mean? And we're back at 5, so we're done. Okay, now 20. What do we start with? 1 and 20. Okay, then we just go down the list. Does 2 go into 20? Yes. 2 times what? 10. Does 3? 4. 4 doesn't go into 20? 4 times what? And we're back at where we started. Okay, so we've done our factors. We've listed them out. Now, this is where you look to see which ones they share in common. So that's why I like to circle them. So they share 1. They don't share 2. They do share 5 together. Those 2 have 10, but that one doesn't. So it looks like those are it. So what would be the greatest common factor then, Dakota? 5. So the GCF equals 5. And that's all they want you to find.
I remember doing this in like 4th and 5th grade.
Yep, they're going to continue to do it the rest of your career. All right, now that's one way of doing it. That's the preferred way I like to do it. It makes it easier for me to list it out that way. Not everyone's going to find that easy. Now the other method is called prime factorization, which you've done in the past. Okay, it's not a big deal. So what they're going to do is just give you two numbers, 2 or 3 numbers. In this case, they gave us 2, 12 and 18. Now, when you're doing prime factorization, you break it down 2 numbers at a time. So, first off, you always start with the number, start with 12. What 2 numbers multiply together get to 12?
4 and 3.
Let's do 4 and 3. So I'm going to put 4 there, 3 there. The reason they call this prime factorization is because this number right here, can you divide any more numbers out of 3? No, because it's a prime number. So if it's a prime number, you're done. Now, is there any more we could divide out of 4?
Yes.
Yeah, what? 2 and 2. Now you're done, because you can't divide any more than 2. 2's done. Okay, so those are the factors. Now we go to 18, do the same thing. What 2 numbers go into 18? Let's do 6 and 3. 3's done because we can't divide anything else out. What about 6? 3 and 2. So if you look, they have the same numbers here, except 3, 3, 2, 2. So the only problem with this is you got to remember at the end to multiply them if they have more than 2. Or more than 1, I mean. So your greatest common factor would be 6. That is that's called prime factorization. If you want to use that method, go right ahead. I think it confuses people more than anything because of this last step down here. Because you cannot forget to multiply those. So let's do another one like that. 15 and 27. We'll do 15 and 27. Okay, what 2 numbers get you to 15? 5 and 3. Can you go any more than that? No. Okay, 27. What 2 numbers? 9 and 3. Can we go any further than 9? What is it? 3 times 3. Now, so if you look, they share 1, 3. So do we have to multiply anything?
Yes.
The only way you multiply, so if you look, 18 had 2 that they shared in common. 15 had 2. Over here, 1, 1. So it's only 3 is your greatest common factor. You don't have to use that method. If you want to use the listing method, go right ahead, like we did back there on number 1. So let's jump over to page 11. We're going to do a couple of different numbers here. Page 11. Yes.
That's confusing.
Right. Prime factorization can confuse people, so that's why I don't usually do it. I show it to people. If they want to use it, go right ahead. If you don't want to, use the listing method. They both work perfectly fine. Okay, number 1 here. So we have 8 and 14. So I'm going to do the listing method for this. So I'm going to start with 8. Okay, so what do we start with? What 2 numbers?
1 and 8.
1 and 8. Okay, does 2 go into 8?
Yes.
Yes, 2 times what?
4.
4. Does 3?
No.
Nope. And we're back at 4. So those are the factors. We're done. We're done with 8. Now we have to do 14. What numbers do we start with?
1 and 14.
1, 14. Now we go to the next number. Does 2 go into 14? Yes. 2 times what?
7.
7. Does 3?
Yes.
4.
Yes.
5.
No.
6.
Wait. No.
And we're back at 7.
No, wait. 4 times 4 times 10 is 15.
That's 100. No, that'd be 40.
Oh, right.
Okay, so those are all the factors. Like I said, if you need to, grab a multiplication chart. They will be very helpful. Okay, that's why I've given you multiple copies, and there's always some over there. Now, this is where you have to go back and look to see which ones they share in common. They have 1, and they have 2. So what's your GCF? 2. And that's your answer. Okay, number 2 now. 21, 24, 27. So let's start with 21. What do we start with?
1.
Okay. Does 2 go into 21? No. 3?
Yes.
3 times what?
7.
7. Does 4? 5? 6? And we're back at 7, so we're done. Okay, now 24. So 1, 24. Does 2?
Yes.
2 times what?
12.
12. Does 3
Yes. Oh, yeah.
times what?
8.
8. Does 4
Yes.
yes times what?
6.
Does 5 no, so we're done. So all the factors of 24 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 24. There's a lot of them. Some numbers have a lot more factors than others. Just depends on the numbers. Okay, 27. So we have 1, 27. Does 2.
No.
3.
Yes.
3 times what?
9.
4.
No.
5.
No.
6. 7. 8. 9. We're back at 9, so we're done. So now we match them up. They have 1. They have 3. And that's it. So what's the GCF?
3.
That's all you have to do, guys.
Oh, crap, I forgot to start writing down.
That's all you have to do. Any questions on that?
I wasn't writing anything down.
Well, you gotta get in the habit of that. Any questions? All right, I want you guys to go back. I want you to try to do letter C down at the bottom of page 8. Letter C. Letter C down at the bottom of page 8. Very bottom. So I'll give you a couple minutes. Go ahead and get started. Letter C, and then we'll talk about it.